everyone, welcome back to another Helldivers 2 video. My name is Swanee and I'm yet again joined by my friend Cookie, and today we have a lot to go over. But first, I wanted to say thanks for all the support on the latest video. It took a lot of hard work and I got like 4 hours of sleep in 2 days to make it happen, so I appreciate that so many of you watched it. And if you didn't see it, be sure to check it out. I go over all of the new Warbond weapons and give my first impressions on each of them. And with that said, what have we got going on today, Cookie?
Well, there's been a ton of new developments regarding the rumors about the Illuminate faction. There's these blue beams that have been getting captured multiple times. It's all over the Reddit. You can see one here that's pretty badly pixelated, but still pretty clearly shows the beam coming from the sky. And says, before I get silenced, listen to me, lasers, blue lasers. I keep seeing blue lasers on Murdia. They are right about the blue lasers. And also says that they don't want to fight them yet. But this is one way people are finding proof that the Illuminate is coming. There's another video here that shows it a little bit more clearly. Some also say that the Illuminate lasers are shooting the bugs, in fact, so it's also kind of interesting. The point is that there have been a lot more sites of this, and I guess the question that comes out of this is this the Illuminate? Is this something else? Because it does seem pretty clear that these blue lasers are not just a, run-of-the-mill thing that happens to like one person or another. It seems to be happening quite a lot. So we may be pretty close to that new faction, or it might be on its way, or this could be something totally different.
It's kind of like how more and more people started like reporting on seeing the flying bugs. And then we got like video evidence of that. Now we're starting to see video proof of like, hey, these lasers exist. But I'm a little more on the fence about these blue lasers, because it's one thing to have physical evidence of like a flying creature, but just because there's blue lasers on the screen, I'm a little, well, like I said, I'm on the fence about that, because when you call in stratagems or when you call in like an extraction, like there's a blue laser that shines down from the sky. So it could just be like maybe the lighting's glitched or something, or it's a reflection. I don't know. But because, like, at the same time, like, say you're getting shot at by this new faction, why isn't anybody getting killed, or why aren't we seeing the actual faction?
Well,
they're getting killed by the lasers?
Yeah, the one guy got killed. The one video shows him actually get shot by the laser. So it did hit him. But like I said, sometimes the lasers hit the bugs and actually help. The one person said it saved them from a brood commander. So it's kind of going both ways, and what's interesting to me is because I would have thought the same as you, if it was just killing the bugs, maybe this is like maybe they're putting it as they're testing out some new stratagem. But the fact that it kills us, although our stratagems kill Helldivers all the time, so maybe it still could be a stratagem. It's an interesting concept. I mean, I know the Illuminate was in the first Helldivers, and I don't know all the lore of it, so I don't know if there's a clear connection or if this is more people just kind of making that connection. But yeah, it's not a lot to go off of, but I bet it means something. I feel pretty confident it means something.
I wonder what would happen if somebody actually got killed by the laser. Like, when it does the little kill cam and it tells you whatever it was that killed you? I wonder what it would say.
It's so
that's
inaccurate
really inconsistent.
as it is now. Yeah.
Like
I'll get killed clearly by bugs, and it'll say
I'll get killed by bugs and it'll be like, Cookie killed you. Like, what?
so that probably wouldn't help. I mean, it wouldn't straight up say killed by Illuminate. It'd be like, oh, okay. Well, that's pretty clear.
Well, you never know. Could.
I mean, I'm sure we would have seen that on the Reddit somewhere by now. Someone's like, it literally said I got killed by Illuminate. Yeah,
well, let's say that this is true. Like, this is real, and the developers are kind of sneaking this in there. If that's the case, then I really love the approach that they're doing with this game. This is a unique approach that I've not experienced with any other video game before, where they're introducing content like slowly, just like sprinkling it in the community so that people go and tell their friends, like, oh my god, this happened to me, and then it spreads around, and then there's like all these conspiracy theories and stuff. Like, that doesn't happen with other games.
Yeah, not to mention it fits perfectly with the way the Helldivers theme, which has a lot to do with propaganda and the government hiding stuff from the soldiers and everything. This kind of fits perfectly with that too. So it's a brilliant idea.
Great with the lore. Like, anything they do, they can just chop it up to the lore. It's great.
Yeah, and the whole concept of like these we talked about in our last video with leaks and stuff, how they haven't really been fighting them that hard, kind of fits perfectly with everything too. That all gets brought up in this Reddit post saying, I changed my mind. I do not want a roadmap release for this game. And goes on to say, because of these conspiracies with the blue beams, the shriekers, stuff like that, it's much more interesting when people just find this stuff out as it comes out instead of knowing ahead of time that it was coming. And it is a very unusual and interesting way to do it, but I think it works for this game. I don't know if I would necessarily want this for every game, but I think for this game, it's a really good concept.
Yeah, and I agree with this completely. I love this approach. If they have a roadmap, then that kind of spoils everything, and we know what to expect. Like, they can have a roadmap for the war bonds. That's one thing. That way we can kind of see like what armor and maybe what weapons are coming. But I think they need to keep their plans with the enemies and stuff under wraps. That way, like the way that they're doing it right now with the whole like people finding it through leaks and people finding it through, you know, the developers sneaking it into gameplay and stuff, it's kind of self-advertising. Like, the community gets hyped up. They're like, oh my god, something new's coming, and I experienced, you know, a flying creature, and everyone's like, holy shit, there's new enemies coming to the game. Like, the way they're doing it now, we just self-promote it within the community. They don't even have to spend money on advertising because we're so hyped to just share it amongst each other.
Yeah, I mean, it goes with stuff like we talked about that Hive Lord corpse, which I'm seeing those Hive Lord corpses everywhere, and the little earthquakes that really kind of were unexplained. The fact that people can put those things together and realistically come up with that being a potential new enemy in the future, and that very well being a possibility, is just really cool, because it forces people to think of conspiracy theories, which, like I said, is perfect for the lore of this game. It makes it that much more of an RPG. Like, you're role playing as a Helldiver, kind of in real life in a weird quasi way. It's very, very creative. I applaud them for coming up with this. Not to mention, this is really useful for Arrowhead Studios too, because if they don't have to have a roadmap, then they don't have to be like, you know, they might not have to rush to get something out and potentially release something badly, or adversely not be able to put it out and have to cancel certain things and piss off their fan base. So this works really well for them too, because they're not encapsulated to a certain time period. They can do it whenever they want. And the Warbond stuff I don't think would matter, because it's not really lore based. At least I don't think it is. It's basically just like, hey, we have new outfits, new guns.
I want to say though that there's something special about this game. Like, when I first got the game, I started playing it. I didn't realize what it was. I thought it was just another shooter, and I saw the people were playing it and were excited to play it. So I didn't think anything of it. But then the more you play it, it's a lot deeper than just, you know, it's just another shooter. The lore and the community, this game has such a strong community. I mean, hell, we're making like podcast style videos where we just have discussions about the game. And like, I haven't had the desire to want to sit down and just talk about a video game like I did with Star Wars Battlefront a couple years ago. Like, we can actually just sit down and have endless discussions about the possibilities and the potential of the future of this game, which is amazing. I haven't had a game like that in years, and I don't know, I just love this game so much. It's great.
Yeah, and we didn't play the first Helldivers, so we weren't aware of any lore coming into this game. And not to mention, Star Wars is Star Wars. It's one of the most recognizable franchises ever. So you can talk forever about a Star Wars video game just based on the history it has. Helldivers doesn't have that, and yet we still have that desire to, you know, go deeper and deeper into it. It's been a masterclass, to be honest, by this studio, what they managed to do. And I'm sure other we'll see if other video games try to do something similar in the future, which I'm all for too, honestly, because it would be nice to see.
Another thing I want to mention, which is kind of unrelated, but I was talking to you guys, like you and my friends last night when we were playing, and we were talking about like how I'm level 50, and I've been level 50 since the first week of the game, since I grinded it out, because, you know, this is related to my job. But the problem with that is that I get burnt out on a lot of video games, because I play it like crazy for 2 weeks, and then I'm just like so fed up with it. But with this game, I've been level 50, I have everything unlocked, there's not really anything left for me to do other than just play it. But I've had no burnout. Like, I still have the desire, like, oh, I'm bored, I want to hop into Helldivers. I want to play with some Helldivers with my friends. I've had zero burnout with this game, and I've been playing it daily since it released, which is pretty impressive. Like, when I covered Star Wars Battlefront 2 daily, I dreaded it. I hated playing it every day. but I was relying on it because it was related to me making money for my job. But with this game, I love covering this game. It's just something special about it, I guess.
Yeah, and we will be continuing to report on it because it's got extreme support, and it's just a ton of fun to play. That being said, it does still have room for improvement, as any game does. And I think the major thing that everybody is, or at least recently I've seen, or really since the game came out, there's been one certain thing that keeps getting brought up that at least so far has not been addressed by the devs. And that has to do with the sprint button and the hunters. And they're both kind of related because people are not able to stand up from prone when they press the sprint button. They get stuck in that position, as you kind of can see in this Reddit post. But also, that's very related to the hunters, the specific group of terminids that slows you down or practically paralyzes you and then bites you to pieces. And there are incredibly high amounts of these things, especially now since the whole Charger Bile Titan nerf. And people are pretty upset, and they really, really want to see these hunters nerfed to some degree because they are just destroying everything. Do you think that the hunters do actually need a nerf, or do you think this is basically like, hey, you didn't want the 5 Bile Titans at the same time, you're going to have to deal with the hunters?
See, I'm kind of mixed on this one as well, because what I've noticed with the community is that anytime there's a problem and the developers address it, then there's just always a new problem. Like, yeah, with the Chargers and the Bile Titans and stuff, everyone was complaining about that, and now the new topic is like the Chargers. Or not the Chargers, the Hunters. But at the same time, I kind of agree, and I don't like the Hunters. I think it's super annoying when I try to dive out of the way. I get smacked in the legs by like one hunter, and then I'm slowed, and then I always find myself in this like little mini hopping game where I'm literally just diving and then trying to stand up and then diving again to get out of the way, and it's just, you get swarmed by these hunters and then they slow you down, and then suddenly there's like 100 of them around you and there's nothing you can do about it. So the hunters are definitely annoying. I think they definitely won't be as annoying once they start introducing vehicles and stuff, because then you can just run them over. You don't have to worry about getting punched and slowed down. But as it is right now, it is probably more annoying. Maybe that's because they're spawning in more of them to make up for the lack of Chargers and Titans, but I still see a ton of Chargers and Bile Titans, depending on what difficulty level you're playing on. But we were playing on difficulty level 5 last night, and level 5 and 6, and we were still getting a decent amount of Bile Titans and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a little more prominent now because of that nerf, but I don't know. I think this could be fixed a little easier. I don't think this is a dramatic change that's needed, just a tiny one. I think this is like a touch-up kind of thing. Like, honestly, if you could just keep the hunters from jumping, it would probably fix it. Like, if you get killed from them just scurrying across the ground, I think that's on you. But the fact that they're jumping, like, they're just diving.
They leap at you and slow you.
Yeah, and you can't outrun them, I think, and they slow you. That seems a little bit much. I mean, if they get a hold of you and then they destroy you, that's one thing. But the fact that they can jump and catch up to you is a little bit much, I feel like. So that's one way they could fix it. They could make it so you are just slowed a little bit less. I think this is an easier fix, is what I'm saying. I don't think this needs a drastic change. Maybe just a little touch-up or something. Because it is true that when you fix one thing, people find some other kind of problem. I think there's a little bit of that happening, although people have been complaining about the hunters since the game released, so there's a little bit of truth that this has been a problem before the nerf too. I think it's a little more prominent now. But yeah, I agree. That would be kind of my position on it. And lastly, there's been talk about the requisition slips. This also has been a talking point since the game came out, with a little more momentum recently, saying we definitely need to have more uses for requisition slips. This person's been capped at 50k since level 30, and as someone who got to level 50 as fast as possible, I'm sure you can relate on the uselessness of requisition slips at this point.
Yeah, the problem with the slips is that once you hit a certain level, they're just obsolete, and I don't know how they're going to fix this issue, because anytime they release new stratagems, people were going to have so much currency saved up that they could just immediately unlock them, especially if they trickle them in one at a time like they did with the mechs. Like, we get a mech, people can unlock it, and then we have to wait a couple more weeks or months before a new stratagem shows up, so then everyone's going to rebuild their currency. This is the same issue that Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a couple years ago, where they would go so long without having content that everyone would have so many credits saved up so that when they did unleash like new skins and new content, people could unlock them right away. So at the end of the game's lifespan, they just completely did away with the credit system and introduced like completing challenges to unlock skins, which pissed everyone off because, you know, we grinded for a half of a year or longer, saved up our credits, and then the devs are like, oh, your credits are useless, we're not going to use credits because people have too many of them. Yeah. At least this game kind of has a cap at 50,000, but I feel like they definitely need to do some sort of rework or give us something else to spend our credits on, like maybe super samples or something. Like we can convert our currency to samples, or maybe we could convert the currency to get cosmetics. I have no idea, but the way it is right now, it's going to have a long-term problem of like everyone's going to have all this currency saved up, but there's going to be nothing to spend it on.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about them trying to fix this, because I agree that it's an issue, you know, because, yeah, there's nothing really to strive for in that area anymore. Exactly for the reasons you already brought up about Battlefront, and I've seen in other games where they try to fix it and they make it so much worse. I'd almost be willing to just be like, yeah, let's just have this problem. It might be okay to just hold on to this problem, because I'm worried they'll try to do something and like, because you can't take the money away from the people. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like they can't be like, all right, you start at zero now. That would piss everybody off horribly. And without doing that, it's very hard to really fix this issue. I think it's just one of the problems of people really loving the game and really playing it a lot is you do get to this point where you don't have as much to strive for, which you kind of mentioned earlier. But this game still is fun, but I think this is just a problem you're going to have. Maybe they could find a way to make it work for people, but I feel like they might cause more problems than they fix. I guess is what I'm trying to get at with this issue.
The two things go hand in hand. Like if you have a fun game, people will play the game just because it's fun. But a part of that fun is unlocking new things and striving to have a goal. Like, oh, I want to unlock that final stratagem, or I want to get that final ship upgrade. It's good to have something to strive for. That way you're not just mindlessly playing. But like right now, since I have everything unlocked, I'm to the point where I'm just playing for the fun aspect. So I'm kind of missing that part of like, oh, I can grind for something. You know, it's a good thing that this game is just straight up fun. Otherwise, I think people would lose a lot of interest once they had everything unlocked.
Yeah, I've seen a couple suggestions just in the comments. It sounded kind of interesting, like donating to a global war fund, which once it meets a certain amount would unlock temporary stratagems for all players.
Ooh, that would be
saw
cool.
Somebody, I don't know if this is exactly what this comment was trying to say, but it gave me an idea. Like, what if they could buy, like, for a little bit of requisition slips, they could buy some crazy stratagem that you can only use during this specific mission or something.
Oh, so you could buy temporary stratagems per mission.
Yeah. That's something came to my mind, whether they were thinking that or not. So, I mean, there are options.
Or buy, additional reinforcements or something for a mission, or...
Yeah, it could be something like that, or there's little things like in mission stuff that they could do. It's a little hard to keep track of your slips in mission because you don't want to be like having a Bile Titan on top of you, like, do I want to spend this money or not? You know, I don't want it to be that kind of situation. So, I maybe it's something you do before you get into the mission because you know it's going to be extra bad or something. I don't know, just a couple thoughts, but yeah, I think that it's something they could try to do, but this wouldn't be that prominent on my list, I guess. I'd be more worried about some other stuff. No, this is just this is a small little side issue. So that's all. That's about all we got today. It's been good times.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, and it seems to be happening pretty quickly, and the new major order is getting pretty close to being accomplished, which I thought that people might not be able to based on how they did in the first day, which was clearly wrong. So. That should be done relatively
going
soon.
Into the weekend when people get off work and stuff. That really picks up those major orders pretty quickly.
We're not even in the weekend yet, and it's already basically pretty close to being accomplished. I think there's only one planet left, so yeah, it
Well,
should
then
be done
hopefully
pretty
that's
soon.
done soon, and then we'll find out like what happens afterwards. Like, I wonder if they're going to immediately just speed up the process, and then going into the weekend we'll have like whatever happens after the major order. So like if they're adding a new enemy, then we can go into the weekend with the new enemy type. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did for the mechs. As soon as the order was done, the mechs were out, so I imagine this will be pretty similar, whatever comes of this. And we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, well, that's going to do it for everything in today's video. If you guys are new here, please consider hitting the subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 videos. And, yeah, I guess we'll talk to you guys next time. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.